Okay, let's talk now some more about communication affecting people with words. Here's one that's a challenge, learning to identify with whoever you're talking to, whether it's a group or an individual. Identification simply means build a bridge between you and someone else so that the conversation flows easy, so that you try to do your best to understand where each other is coming from. Identification means start with something real. If you're married and have a family and you talk to someone who's married and has a family, that's an easy identification. I'm married, you're married, I've got children, you've got children. What gets to be a little more complicated now is I'm a man, you're a woman. See this? Now, if we both have children, we would have that in common. If we both worked at the local department store, we might have that in common to talk about as a start. But then, finally, for the man and the woman, it gets a little more complicated. Expectations, demands, all that. Man gets married, hands his wife this list of 12 positions he wants her to fill eventually. Mother, lover, chauffeur, housekeeper, cook, teacher, guardian, just to name a few. She says, whoa, that's pretty heavy. And then he's got his own challenge. She says to him, go conquer the world and be home by 5 o'clock. And he says, whoa. So working this thing out, right, between man and woman, male and female, brother and sister, it's a challenge. But it was meant, right, for the combination to be extraordinary. Here's what happens in the combination. You multiply the effect by 2, by 3, by 5, by 10. So make this note. It says, if 2 or 3 agree on a common purpose, nothing is impossible. That's a good communication challenge. If 2 or 3 agree on a common purpose, nothing's impossible. The most extraordinary things are possible if just 2 or 3 agree. See, the challenge is the 2 or 3 to agree. And this is where identifying, could we identify a common purpose? Could we identify a common reason and get together and blend our resources together? My time, your time put together might be extraordinary time. In this case now, 1 plus 1 doesn't equal 2. 1 plus 1 could equal 10, the power of 10. Old Testament, there's a unique phrase that says 1 can become so powerful they can put 1,000 to flight, cause 1,000 to flee. If 2 get together, they can cause 10,000 to flee, giving us that idea that 1 plus 1 in terms of potential power in blending talents and skills and purpose could multiply the power not by 2, but by 10. That's why extraordinary partnerships, right, can produce some of the most colossal productivity and activity and business structure and all kinds of unique things. 2 together. Doesn't take that many, right? Jesus only had 12. So it doesn't take 2,000. If a few say, let's conquer the world. If a few say, we could do something extraordinary, your talent plus mine, maybe another 1 or 2. See, just a few with common interest, common power. But the whole key is you start that potential by building a bridge of understanding each other, identification, okay? Here's a big challenge. If the adult is 40 and the child is 12, see, that's a heck of a bridge to build between 40 and 12. How do you identify? Here's one of the best ways. Remember when you were 12 and talk about that. I remember 12. I remember almost every day of being 12. One of the problems of being 12 is you're not 13. I mean, the teenagers go away. They do some, fun things. They're gone. If I heard it once, I heard it 100 times. You're only 12. I said, wow, I'm stuck here. It's like being stuck. Finally, I turned 13. See, kids will understand that. Being 12, wishing you were 13. Did you ever get chosen last? They're choosing up sides. The leaders are choosing up sides. I'll take you, I'll take you, I'll take you, I'll take you. You're standing there. I'll take you, I'll take you. Finally, the last one says, I guess I'll have to take you. Guess what? Those stories will identify with kids, disappointments, right? Misunderstandings. I thought they said, sure enough, that's not what they really said. Wow, and I got in trouble. Kids will understand that. This is called identification, finding some common ground in which to communicate. Okay, that's important. Here's the next one. In communication, that is attacking the problem without attacking the person. Here's where language must be careful when you're dealing with challenges of this nature. Sometimes you've got to put love and hate in the same sentence so that there's no misunderstanding. Wow, what good benefit somebody brings to us to help point out some of those even very sensitive things, to go after the problem. But hopefully they go after the problem, but they have this sincere desire to truly help. Now, sometimes you can get careless in language and you mean to help, but you said it wrong. What if you meant to say, what's troubling you? And instead you said, what's wrong with you? See, that's an error in language that can cause all kinds of difficulty. You meant to say, what's troubling you? And instead you said, what's wrong with you? Now, we'll let you make that mistake 10 years ago, but 10 years later, to be making the same error in language? See, we need to understand that. Say, no, I need to learn to say it better so that it sets up a better chance for communication. It sets up a better chance for me to talk about something constructive and not come out with something wrong, saying it wrong, correct all those errors in verbal judgment. Here's a good way to go after the problem. Go after the problem that you've had. We call this third party. Say, Mary, I was in this same fix. I thought this and it turned out to be this. I made a mistake and misunderstood. Sure enough, I'm headed down the wrong road. About a year later, I'm in serious trouble. I finally worked my way out, but I'm telling you, you can save yourself that kind of calamity with just a couple of words of advice. Use yourself as part of the problem. Say, I was the problem at one time. I gave people grief when I should have given them thanks. And it created for me no value, right? It's called attacking the problem in yourself. Then here's another way, third party, where you say, I know someone who miscalculated, and if they were here, here's what they would say with tears: don't go down this road. Remember that movie years and years ago called Scared Straight, where they took some kids into prison and let them interview and talk to the prisoners. And the prisoner said, you don't want to come here. Let me take you on a tour, show you what it's like. And the kids came out of the prison with eyes about this big saying, whoa, the man said I shouldn't come here. See, that kind of advice, straight talk, can be so helpful if it's done in the right manner and in the right way. In building your house on the rock instead of on the sand, how do you decide to build on the rock? You have somebody give you the image that they built on the sand and suffered the disaster of a storm. Because sometimes when the day is unique and the sky is blue and the clouds are fleecy white, it's easy to be faked out and build on the sand. There doesn't seem to be any immediate consequences. Somebody says, no, the storms. And if you've never had one of those storms, you would say, what storms? So let me tell you about the storms. And then you need somebody to scare you to death about the potential of the upcoming storm so that you don't make the mistake and be deluded when the days are nice to build your house on the sand. Now, here's another part of communication, and that is solutions. Solutions. Solutions usually involve, by communication, being able to take somebody from the present. Sometimes we take someone back to review their mistakes. So jot down this little setup here now. Sometimes first, to help someone, we take them back and examine the errors that brought them to a poor place. Errors in judgment, errors in health judgment, errors in career judgment, errors in personal judgment. So sometimes we have to take someone back, and sometimes that's difficult to go back over those times that were difficult. Then here's the next challenge. Bring them to the present. Hey, here's how it is now. Guess what now always is? The greatest of hope and the greatest of possibilities is now. If you will begin now to amend those errors in judgment, if you begin now to construct a new destination and thereby a new direction, because direction determines destination. If you'll reconstruct now, starting now. So we give them the sense of the past, errors that might bring tears, that might bring sadness, that might bring this cloud for a while. Wow, yes, that's how it was. Yes, that's where I made my mistake. But here now, now is like spring. Now is a new opportunity. And then we describe the now and the opportunity. But here's what's best, is to be able to transport someone into the future. With their problems solved, with money in the bank, with their health restored. You can't restore your health overnight. So you've got to take someone into the future. In just a few months, you'll notice the difference. In the first year, it'll be incredible. By the end of the third year, I promise you, such an abundance of this or this or this change or this kind of productivity, this kind of activity breeds this kind of productivity. Take somebody on a journey back, show them the present called opportunity, and then take them on a journey into the future. We must do that with our children. What if you inspired your salespeople and not your child? What if you took the people around you into the future, but not your family? Describe to them the possibilities. That if we work together, we can have the most extraordinary family ever, benefiting each other, drawing strength from each other. And here's how it can be. Here's how it's going to be. So make this note. The promise of the future is an awesome force. In the future, problems can be solved. In the future, fortunes can be won. In the future, productivity can be incredible. So be able to paint the past and the present and the future. This is one of the most awesome challenges of communication. Here's one of the best ways to inspire someone else. Help them to see themselves better than they are. Sometimes we have to help people see themselves as they are. If your child is messed up, you got to say, hey, John, you have messed up. But here's the next clue, parents. Don't leave them in the mess. So they've messed up. How quickly could they turn it around? Almost overnight. What could be the promise of the future if they started walking a new road? Absolutely colossal and unbelievable. So we quickly go from saying, yes, you've messed up, no doubt about that, but here's how quickly you can recover. Here's how quickly you can multiply the future in a positive way versus the negative way that brought you to this poor place. See, the gift of language can do the most incredible things with a human being. Rescue them from oblivion, send them into the future with a picture of the promise, the possibilities. Don't be lazy in exercising these gifts. Someone say, well, how good do we need to be at it? As good as you possibly can. Someone says, well, this is only a child. What a better place to start. Correcting a few errors and building the promise of the future. We can't say it's only a child. This could be the next superstar. This could be the next person of high productivity that starts enterprises that employs millions. This next child, this child, properly corrected, properly inspired. The promise of the future is an awesome force. My mentor worked this on me. He said, Jim Rohn, if you keep up these disciplines and if you keep up these skills, keep increasing productivity, learn how to work with people, do the job well, do the activity, learn to teach. He said, I promise you, you're going to have a unique place. I promise you. He kept saying that. I promise you. Things will all change. I promise you. A bank full of money. I promise you. A heart full of gratitude. I promise you. A family with unusual respect. I promise you. An audience that won't quit. And he just kept saying all of this stuff. I promise you. Take it from me. I've got the experience. I know. Person like you, your dedication. If you keep up this pace, the day will come. The day will come. And he painted this picture. I couldn't sleep nights the first year. Then I remember one day he said, one of these days you'll walk into a room full of people, and as you walk in the room, you'll hear someone say, that's him. That's the famous man. I thought, well, that could never happen to me. I was raised in obscurity, right? One of my first skills was milking cows. I mean, what's that got to do with walking in a room and have someone say, that's him, that's the man, the famous man? But sure enough, year by year, audience by audience, and book by book, as I traveled this journey, wow, that promise from this man started coming true. I think when I got here today, even before I reached this auditorium, I think I heard someone say, that's him, that's the famous man. I just wish my mentor, Mr. Schoaf, was here to see this. Here's what he would say. I told you. I said, listen to what they're saying. I told you. I told you. Yeah, that's right. It's happening. Whoa. I wonder how much further. I wonder how much more. Wow. That's a gift. Language that transports people into the future. Jesus used it as an incredible incentive. He said to his little group, we're going to have a tough time and be a bit misunderstood. This is a new thing we got going here. Some people are going to like it and some people are not going to like it. And, you know, the devils are after us and all the rest of the stuff that started this drama way back in the beginning for the beginnings. It hasn't changed. But we've got such a splendid idea. It's worth working. I've been with you now 3.5 years. And here's the deal. Let's now go tell the story. Tell the story to someone else. And they said, okay. So they start telling the story. Sure enough, they run into challenges. Sure enough, the devil is at work. And I'm sure Jesus said to them, if we do the work well, I promise you when all of this is finished, in my Father's house are many mansions. See, that's clever. He put the mansion shot on them. No wonder they walked the streets and told the story, fought the devils and fought the opposition. No wonder. But I'm sure they came back to Jesus every once in a while and said, would you tell us about the mansions one more time? We've had a really tough day. So you got to do that with your children. You got to dazzle them. Take dazzling lessons. I don't know where you sign up in Anaheim for dazzling lessons, but why not? As a grandfather, I wanted to be a 5-star grandfather. I'm on my way, dazzling my grandchildren. So I'm asking you to do the same thing with your company, with your people that work for you, and especially your family, so that you can give them the promise of the future. They'll do extraordinary things if they can see. If they can't see, they'll take little steps. If they can see, they'll take giant steps. Solution. Money solution. Business solutions. Solutions of every description. Be a person with a ready solution.